Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight's lesson is called a scaled coordinate plane. So in our last lesson, we learned that a coordinate plane has the 4 quadrants, but we're only working with the 1 quadrant. We're going to continue that, but now we're going to be doing something called scaling it. So our goal says today I will scale the axes. Remember, our axes are our x and y of a coordinate plane, so I can plot larger ordered pairs on it. Okay, so we need to know what scale means. Scale is the value, and I'm going to say amount, the value or amount given to each axis. Okay, and remember our axes are our x and our y. Okay. So the important thing to know is the x-axis and the y-axis do not have to have the same value. They don't have to have the same amount, and you'll see that when we get some practicing in. Okay, there's no notes today, and our steps are pretty short. Okay, so our first one is you're going to start with your x and decide what you need to count by to reach your coordinate. So when I say count by, if you think when you were younger, like we obviously count by ones, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But you've also learned to count by twos, 2, 4, 6, 8. I bet you could count by fives pretty easily, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. Even tens, 10, 20, 30, 40. Even hundreds, 100, 200, 300. So that's what I mean when you're going to decide what you need to count by, okay? So once you do this to the x, you're going to repeat for your y. So you're going to do the exact same thing, decide what you're going to count by for your y. And after you've done this, and I did put, remember here, your scales don't need to match, so that's why we do them separately. And after you've done that, then you're just going to plot your ordered pair. Okay. So I'm going to jump right in and get started. Okay, so what does this actually look like? Okay. So here's my first one. And I grabbed my red pen so you can put your pencil down. Okay, so here's my ordered pair. And remember, when we get an ordered pair, we always put an X and a Y on top of it. Okay, so my X is 32. Okay, well, what I remember here is this is my origin. So if you remember, that's a 0 and a 0. Okay, I need my x to get all the way to 32. So I have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 32. No, you can't do that. So I can't count by ones, because if I count by ones on my x, I won't get to 32. And I need a plot at 32. So I need to ask myself, what could I count by that I will actually get to 32? Well, when I counted here, there's 10. So I can't count by twos because two's not going to get me far enough. So I have to really think. If I count by threes, do you ever even get to 32? No. So maybe fours? Let's try fours. So if I count by fours, I have 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28, 32. I would get to it. Okay, and then I could continue. But so counting by fours might be a good choice. Okay, you might have also thought, what else could you count by? Fives? If you count by fives, will you ever get to 32? No, that would have been a bad choice. Sixes? Nope, because this isn't a multiple of 6, so I'll never get to 32. Sevens? Again, this isn't a multiple of 7, so I'll never get there. Eights? You could, because we have 8, and if I count by 8s, I get 8, 16, 24, 32. So I could have done 8s as well, but I'm going to do my 4s. So I have 0, 4, 8, 12. Notice where I'm putting my numbers. Not under the box, but under the little dash. That's where it goes. Not under the box, but under the dash. So It should be right under that. 16, 20, 24, 28, 32, 36, and 40. Okay, so that was step one. So step one, I started with my X and decided I needed to count by 4s to reach my coordinate of 32. Okay, let's look at my Y. My Y is 800. Okay, there's no way I can count by 1s and get to 800. If I count by 4s, I'm just going to get to 40 like I did before. So that's not going to work either. So I have to think of something pretty large. Well, I'm thinking I'm probably going to count by hundreds. So if I have 0, I have 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800. So that I think is the best choice. I can't think of really anything else that would work. You could have counted by 200s. I could have said 200, 400, 600, 800. That might have worked. But you usually try and use maybe one of the smaller ones that's possible. So I would say 100 or 200. You definitely wouldn't want to count by 400s or 800s. So I'm going to go with 100. And again, I want it to be kind of by the dash, not by the box. So 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800, 900, and 1,000. Okay, this is a scaled coordinate plane. So I had to scale it. I had to use a different value than 1 because I would not have been able to fit my ordered pair if I used 1. So this is what that definition scaled means. It's just the value, we changed the value of the X and the Y so we could put this large ordered pair. Okay, so now that I've scaled it, now I just need to plot it. So in the X, I want to find 32, which is right here. And on the Y, I want to find 800. Now I could trace like before, or I could maybe use my fingers, because remember we said we're going to kind of get past that at some point. So again, I could trace, or I could use my finger and find. So my ordered pair is right there. Okay, this one, excuse me, they give you the ordered pair. I'm sorry, they give you the scaled. So the scale here was 10. They counted by 10. The value is 10s. Here, the scale was 50. So they just want me to say what the ordered pair is. Well, remember an ordered pair always has an X and a Y. So I'm going to label it. So what is my X? Well, my X is 30, and my Y is 250. Okay, so let's try some. All right. Okay, so this one, before we get started, we're going to label them X and Y. Okay, and let's add our origin, our 0, 0. Okay, so we need my X to get to 100. So I can't count by 1s, so I need a different scale. So I'm thinking I could count by 10s, and I could get 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. You also maybe could have counted by 20s and said 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 120, 140, 160, 180, 200. I'm even thinking you could have counted by 25s. I could have said 25, 50, 75, 100. So all of those would probably be good choices, 10, 20, or 25. Let's just go with 20. So we're going to do this one together. So we're going to go with 20s. And remember, again, I want it on the dash. Let me see if I find a spinner marker. 40, 60, 80, 100, 120, 140, 160, 180, 200. Pretty squished down there. Okay, again, we're just doing this one together. We could have had other options, but that one works. Okay, now looking at Y though, Y is not going to work because if I use 20s, first of all, I'll never get to 250 because this isn't a multiple of 20. But I also only will get to 200. So I need to think of another choice. I'm thinking a good choice would be I could do 50s. I could count by 50s and go 50, 100, 150, 200, 250. I could also count by 25s maybe. Let's check it. 25, 50, 75, 100, 125, 150, 175, 200, 225, 250. Ooh, it just barely fits. Those I think are the best choices. Why don't we go with 50? So I have 50, 100, 150, 200, 250, 300, 350, 400, 450, and 500. Okay, so my scale here is by 20s. My scale here is by 50s because they don't have to match. Okay, so let's plot our point. So on the X line, I want 100. On the Y line, I want 250. So where do they match? So I could trace it or I could use my fingers very carefully. And here's my point. Okay, the next one, they already gave it to you. They already scaled this for you. So the X scale, if you look closely, is counting by 2s. The Y scale is counting by 4s. So we know we need our X. I'm going to do it down here since there's not room on top. And a Y. Oops, sorry. So my X is 14. And my Y is 28. Okay. So ladies and gentlemen, for homework, you actually have two of the trickier ones because that's what I want you to practice. So you have to really think about what's going to be your scale to get this on here. Remember, you want to make sure you put your X and Y on top to help you. And then again, so what scale can you create for X and what scale can you create for your Y? And then as always, rate yourself. Okay, have a nice evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good night.